Donald Trump, outwardly, in public, very confident about his chances. He recently said while talking to Fox News that he's confident about the polls, and the polls that showed him down in 2016, after all, he won every state. I checked. He didn't win every state in America, but that's what he's saying. Privately, though, apparently not so confident. The president, West Wing advisors, and campaign aides have grown increasingly concerned about his re-election chances as they've watched Trump's standing take a pummeling, first on his handling of the coronavirus pandemic, which he forgets even exists now, and now during a nationwide protest against racial injustice. His allies worry the president has achieved something his November foe had been unable to do, igniting enthusiasm in a Democratic Party base that's been lukewarm to Joe Biden so far. And so we're gonna show you some polls. So let's see. We've got right now, CNN released a poll today with Trump down 14, bear that in mind, and Biden is up to a 12-point lead in Michigan right now. Now, as we always say, these are polls that are a long way out, and bear in mind, I looked back in 2016, the same pollster in Michigan in March, so it's not quite the same thing, had Hillary Clinton up by 10, and she ended up losing that state. So bear that in mind, full context. But Trump doesn't want to be down by 12 right now in this poll. That's all I'm saying. With apparently no plan whatsoever to get himself out of the hole.
No, absolutely not. And I think we know that Trump will fumble any opportunity that he could use to his advantage. He could somehow, I don't know, Stephen Miller could smoke some sativa and write him a good speech that isn't Nazi sounding, and maybe he could win over some young African American voters. I don't know, but and maybe some moderate conservatives, right? Who might be well, I believe more in Republican view of the economy or whatever it is, but he's completely bungled that. He's completely lost that, both on coronavirus and on these protests. He is out of touch with reality. And so ultimately we are getting, okay, do you believe in the president's reality? And do you believe in a fascistic militarized takeover of the United States? Ironically, the people who support him would be like, Obama was a socialist who wanted a fascistic takeover of the United States. Or do you have feet on the ground? Are you are you here and now? Are you not nuts? Do you, 1 + 1 is still 2, etc.
Yeah.
And that's the choice. And I think you're going to see, and I do dispute a lot of the Republican polls or X amount of Republicans still support Trump. Yeah, because I think there are fewer Republicans. I'd like to see how many people still identify with the Republican Party after 3.5 years of Trump.
Yeah, it's got to be low. Certainly his approval rating is. Yeah, I love that you point out the weird hypocrisy on fearing the takeover. I remember not too many years ago, back before Trump, there were the Jade Helm military exercise in Texas that Alex Jones was sure was the UN taking over the whole country. Some Republican politicians said we're all going to be forced to live in hobbit homes. You might remember that.
Oh my God, force me.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Now, they're all over. The military's everywhere. Totally fine. Totally cool. Should happen. Weird how that works. But anyway, in terms of what Trump has on the docket to try to recover, he has some lines of attack he plans on rolling out. So, Joe Biden's ties to China, which the White House blames for the spread of the pandemic, even though initially they were so complimentary of China. And it's going to be hard because Joe Biden is fear-mongering around China as much as Trump is these days, so that's great. You also have Hunter Biden, whom aides believe can be painted as a symbol of corruption. I mean, maybe that'll work, and who knows what's going to happen in a few months. But man, they still think that that's what's on the front of everyone's mind across America. We're worried about will we ever be able to go back to work? Yep. You think I care about the BS about Hunter Biden? I don't care.
Will I be evicted? When is unemployment running out?
So I'm going to lose my house because they temporarily can't take my home, but I still lost all the money, and you guys aren't doing anything to help me. You've lost an appetite for more aid. And then they have Biden's support for the 1994 crime bill, which is obviously, I get what you're saying, but you've also done everything you can to create the sort of environment that is going to minimize the impact of that and other horrific pieces of legislation that Biden has supported, because you are pitching yourself as the boot on the neck of African Americans across the country. Maybe if you were to extend a hand, maybe march like Mitt Romney is, and then bring up the crime bill, that might seem a little bit less hypocritical, but you're making it impossible for yourself to do that.
Right. And I do think that it makes you wonder what the Republicans have up their sleeve, right? And we all know that they are doing everything they can to prevent any more funding going into voting by mail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that the long lines, the coronavirus, all of those things will be prohibitive on election day. And I, always think of John Pilger, I believe, who, writes on election stealing and in the United States, right, and gerrymandering, et cetera. And he always talks about overwhelming the steal. You have to overwhelm the steal. There was absolutely voter machines that flipped votes in 2008 and same in 2012. There was gerrymandering. There was gerrymandering is on a different level, but there was a lot of chicanery, and you have to overwhelm it. You have to overwhelm the steal. We have to translate this energy to the voting booths and beyond. This is not just a, hey, just vote. No. This moment and this movement, when it comes to police violence, extends, beyond party. It's bipartisan. But right now, it's very clear we need to send this mofo packing, and we have no other option. And yeah, I would rather have Biden as my adversary than Trump.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah. You're not picking your savior. You're picking the person you're going to fight with for the next 4 years. And if you want to make the case that it's better to fight against Trump, it's going to involve convincing people that the last 3 years didn't happen. 100%. We need to overwhelm the steal. And because that is the only way to get people in a position to hopefully make it more difficult to do that in the future. And that's not just a federal thing. That is 100% a state level thing, too, in terms of gerrymandering, removing voting precinct, voting booths, all of that.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.